Darius Shachinda, Parliamentary Counsel from Ministry of Justice as well.
Thank you so much, Minister of Justice. I'm Minister of Finance. I'm Michael Katambo, MP for Marsabit Parliamentary Constituency, and I'm the Vice Chairperson of the committee. You may introduce yourselves.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mulele Maketo Mulele, Permanent Secretary Economic Management and Finance, Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Good morning, Chair and the honorable members. My name is Esther Kamwemba Sianda. I'm Assistant Director of Sector from Ministry of Finance. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Musadabwe Chulu, Principal Planner and Economic Management Department.
Thank you, PS and your team. As you appear before the committee or indeed any other committee of Parliament to assist in its deliberations before it, you are protected under Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, which grants members of Parliament immunity against prosecution for what they say while in the House. This means that the information you give to this committee cannot be used against you outside Parliament or indeed in any court of law for as long as it is factual. However, should you deliberately or willfully mislead or misinform the committee, the same law can be used against you in the courts of law. I have no doubt in my mind, however, that this won't be necessary, as you won't choose to willfully mislead or misinform the committee. So PS, you run concurrently your presentation of the three bills, and then the honorable members will seek clarity or ask questions or whichever way they would like to engage you. So you may now proceed to make your submissions, PS.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and indeed it's a privilege of Finance to appear before this committee. We are very grateful that we will run concurrently with these three bills because, Honorable Chair, I think these are taken as a set and must be read together, and I think they are complementary in each other. With your permission, Chair, I'll start with the Food Reserve Bill number 33 of 2025. Allow me to just keep the objects of the bill because I believe these were read in the first reading, but let me go straight to the rationale in order to just save time on page 2 at 2.2. Honorable Chair and members of the committee, you may wish to note the Food Reserve Bill 2025 seeks to strengthen Zambia's national food security framework by continuing the existence of the Food Reserve Agency and also redefining its functions to align to modern food security needs. The bill also reconstitutes the FRA's board to enhance governance, improve oversight, and ensure that the Food Reserve Agency operates efficiently, transparently, and in line with national priorities. It also continues the National Strategic Food Reserve, which serves as the country's buffer against food shortages, emergencies, or any market shocks that may occur within the economy. The bill also provides or gives authority to the minister to designate a specific agricultural commodity or specific commodity as essential for food security, ensuring that Food Reserve Agency focuses on its interventions on strategic crops that are critical for national stability and also for livelihoods. The bill also strengthens the legal framework for the purchase and management of these commodities for strategic reserves, helping the country to respond more effectively during crises such as one we had last year when we had severe droughts, and also maintaining adequate stock reserves throughout the year. Additionally, the bill promotes the coordination among regulatory and advisory agencies to support exchange of agricultural information, stabilization of markets. And I think this is where the interaction with the other two bills is. Then also, we believe that by repealing and replacing the outdated Food Reserve Act of 2020, the bill modernizes the legal foundation, ensures that the system is robust, well-regulated, and capable of supporting Zambia's long-term food security objectives. Honorable Chair, allow me to just highlight some of the salient issues that are within the bill. Of course, the first part of the bill does introduce a marketing council, and this marketing council is linked to the Agriculture Marketing Bill number 35 of 2025. Then the second part provides a continuation of the food reserve and its administration. The third part continues the existence of the National Food Reserve and its management. The part also provides for the consultation between the Food Reserve Agency and the Zambia Agriculture Marketing Council in the determination of the size of the food reserve. Part 3 also provides for an advisory for the council in the designation of agricultural commodities for food security. Part 4 of the bill also makes financial provisions for the Food Reserve Agency. The financial provisions have been updated to ensure conformity with the Public Debt Management Act number 15 of 2022. And finally, Part 5 provides the general provisions related to the administration of the bill. Honorable Chair and members of the committee, in terms of the ramifications of the bill, the first one is, as I stated earlier, is to strengthen governance and oversight of the food reserve. By redefining the functions of the Food Reserve Agency and reconstituting its board, the bill enhances institutional accountability, decision-making, and professional oversight. This will also reduce operational inefficiencies, but may require restructuring and capacity building within the agency. The second ramification is that it improves national food security framework. So continuation and strengthening of the National Food Reserve ensures the country can better respond to emergencies, to market shocks, or food shortages that may occur. While this increases resilience, it demands consistent funding and disciplined stock management to remain effective. There is also the bill will provide greater clarity and control over designated strategic commodities, granting the minister authority to designate essential commodities and empowering the FIA to purchase them, provides clearer policy direction and flexibility. It may, however, influence market behavior and pricing depending on how the designation and purchasing powers, of course, are exercised. At D, Honorable Chair, we believe that one of the ramifications is to enhance the coordination across agriculture and regulatory agencies. So the bill promotes better information sharing and collaboration between the Food Reserve Agency and other regulatory or advisory bodies, supporting market stability and informed agricultural planning. So the bill really requires strong interagency systems and may increase coordination demands. Finally, I think the Ministry of Finance does support the enactment of the Food Reserve Bill number 33 of 2025, as it will streamline the operations of the Food Reserve Agency and enhance private sector participation in agricultural markets. Honorable Chair, permit me to move, I think maybe I'll follow the numbering of the bills to the Agriculture Credits and Warehouse Receipts, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2025. And as I'd started, I'd like to skip the objects but just go straight into the rationale of the bill. And this is particularly the Agriculture Credits and Warehouse Receipt Bill. Honorable Chair, you may wish to note that the proposed bill seeks to modernize Zambia's agriculture financing system by strengthening governance and regulatory framework for warehousing and commodity-backed credit. It updates and redefines the mandate of Warehouse Licensing Authority and its board to ensure effective oversight and improved accountability and better management of warehouses that issue warehouse receipts. This reform addresses the gaps in the current system and establishes a stronger institutional structure to support orderly and transparent warehousing operations. The bill also introduces an electronic warehouse receipt system to enhance transparency, reduce fraud, and basically improve traceability of agricultural products used as collateral. By clearly defining the rights and obligations of warehouse operators, depositors, lenders, and holders of agricultural charges, the bill provides legal certainty and protects all parties involved in commodity-based financing. So this will make warehouse receipts more credible as secure instruments for accessing credits. Finally, Chair and members of this distinguished committee, by repealing and replacing the outdated Agriculture Credits Act, the bill aligns the legal framework with contemporary market practices and financing needs. This modern system is expected to expand farmers' access to affordable credit, improve efficiency of agricultural markets, and promote greater private participation in agriculture financing, thereby supporting the growth of the sector as well as national food security. In terms of the salient issues, of course, part 1 is the interpretation clause. The bill introduces the Zambia Agriculture Marketing Council, which is assigned the same name, of course, in the bill, and the interpretation is aligned to several key definitions such as security interests, perfected security interests, to mention a few, in the Movable Property Act. Part 2 of the bill provides for the continuation of the Warehouse Licensing Authority and its administration. Part 3 of the bill provides for licensing of warehouses for the purpose of issuance of warehouse receipts and other matters related to licensing. Part 4 of the bill establishes the electronic warehouse receipts and electronic warehouse receipt system and matters related to administration of the warehouse receipts. And Part 5 provides for the rights and obligations of warehouse operators with regard to agricultural commodities deposited in the warehouses. Part 6 provides for the use of warehouse receipts as security advance for contracts and their lodgement under Movable Property or Security Interest Acts. And Part 7 provides for the administration of agricultural charges. The bill defines a charge as a security that allows a farmer, a trader, or related business to borrow money using their farming stock or other agricultural assets as a collateral. Part 8 provides for the appointment of inspectors and honorary inspectors and matters related to enforcement provisions of the bill. And finally, Part 9 provides for the general provisions for the administration in the bill. Honorable Chair, the ramifications of this bill, the Agricultural Credits and Warehouse Receipts bill, is 1, to strengthen the regulatory oversight, regulatory and institutional oversight. The bill enhances the control of warehouse operators by redefining the functions of the Warehouse Licensing Authority and its boards. So we hope this will lead to stricter compliance, improved accountability, reduced risks of mismanagement or malpractice. However, it may also increase regulatory obligations for warehouse operators. Increased transparency and security in agricultural financing. The introduction of the electronic warehouse receipt system will reduce fraud, duplication of receipts, and disputes over stored commodities. So this increases the credibility of the warehouse receipts as collateral, but requires significant investments, of course, in technology and maintenance. Honorable Chair, at C, we believe that one of the ramifications of this bill is to improve access to credit to farmers and agribusinesses. So by clearly regulating agricultural charges and advance contracts, the bill enables farmers, especially smallholders, to use stored commodities as secure collateral. So this expands access to finance and supports production, though some farmers may initially struggle with formal requirements of the new system. Then the replacement of outdated legal framework. So again, by repealing and replacing the old Agriculture Credits Act, the bill modernizes and aligns with current market practice. While this creates a more efficient and predictable environment for lenders and commodity renters, it will require capacity building to ensure that stakeholders adopt new legal and operational processes. So in terms of our observations as Ministry of Finance, we don't see any adverse observations in the bill, and therefore the Ministry fully supports the enactment of this bill. Finally, Chair, I can move to the memorandum on the Agriculture Marketing Bill, number 35 of 2025. And again, I'll request that I skip Part 1 and Part 2, but go straight into the rationale of the bill. So, Honorable Chair, your committee and may wish to note that the Agriculture Marketing Bill 2025 aims to modernize and coordinate agriculture marketing system by establishing a central institution, which is the Zambia Agriculture Marketing Council, to regulate, guide, and harmonize activities across the sector. This addresses the current fragmentation, promotes consistency in market practices, and strengthens the overall governance framework for agricultural markets. The bill further seeks to make the marketing system more efficient and competitive by enhancing private sector participation, improving farmer access to markets, and establishing an agriculture observatory unit. This will support better decision making for farmers, for agribusinesses and policymakers, while helping Zambia respond effectively to market fluctuations. So we believe that overall the bill provides a structured framework for improved competitiveness of Zambia's agricultural products in domestic, regional and international markets, while enabling government to undertake targeted intervention measures in times of market failure or volatility. It also ensures a comprehensive and modern approach to agricultural marketing that supports growth, stability and long-term sector developments. So in terms of the salient issues, again, just going through the different parts of the bill, the first part is really the interpretation definitions that are used in the bill. The committee may wish to note that some of the definitions have cross-reference to the Food Reserve Bill and the Agriculture Credits and Warehouse Bill, as I stated earlier. Then Part 2 of the bill provides establishment of the Zambia Marketing Council and its functions and administration. Part 3 establishes the Agriculture Observatory Unit. The committee may wish to note that the unit is expected to be responsible for collecting, storing, analyzing, and disseminating data and information on sector activities, production, pricing, and consumption of and trade in agricultural products and other relevant market indicators on domestic, regional, and international markets. Then Part 4 of the bill provides for the registration of persons engaged in agricultural marketing and market players. The committee may wish to note that the bill has a provision which empowers the minister to grant exemptions and registration certificates granted under the bill are valid for 3 years. So some market players may be exempted in being registered as a player under this bill by way of statutory instrument by the minister. Part 5 provides for intervention measures and matters related to the implementation. Part 6 provides for the creation of an inspectorate of the Marketing Council, appointment of inspectors and matters related to the enforcement of the provisions in the bill. And Part 6 provides for the general provisions for the administration of the bill. In terms of possible ramifications, and I think there are quite a number. Number 1 is for stronger regulation and coordination. We believe that the bill centralizes oversight through the Zambia Marketing Council, leading to clearer rules, improved transparency, and reduced market disorder through the increase, though it may increase compliance obligation for market actors. There's a shift towards private sector-driven markets in the bill by promoting private sector participation and reducing ad hoc government involvement, the bill is expected to improve efficiency and attract investment, but may face resistance from those accustomed to discretionary state interventions. Then, of course, it helps improve market information and planning. So by having the agriculture or establishing the agriculture market observatory unit, this will enhance access to reliable data, and farmers and businesses make informed while requiring stronger institutional capacity to maintain data quality and integrity. The bill also enhances competitiveness of agricultural products. Better regulation, improved standards, and strong market linkages will enable Zambia agricultural products to compete more effectively domestically and internationally through small holders that may support emerging requirements. So the observation of the Ministry of Finance is that there's no adverse observations in the bill, and the Ministry of Finance fully supports this act as it will streamline the operations to enhance private sector participation in the agricultural markets. Honorable Chair, I think I'll end here and submit our memorandum.
Thank you very much, PS, for your in-depth presentation on the three bills. Honorable members of Parliament, any concerns? Yes, Minister, or PS. Is the annual budget support sufficient to finance this market-based procurement under the Food Reserve Bill? I would also want your comment that are there any safeguards compromising domestic food security when exporting and providing regional aid to our countries that are in need? Also, I would like you to rather, what would be your recommendation as a minimum amount or fee for small-scale farmers to benefit from licensed warehouses system under the Agricultural Credits and Warehouse Receipts Bill of 2025? Thank you, PS.
Thank you, Chair, for the three questions that you've raised. I think the first question that you've raised is on whether the annual budget is sufficient to support the procurement of commodities by the Food Reserve Agency. My answer is yes, because the annual budget is informed by the intentions of what Food Reserve Agency requires to procure in terms of what stocks and what products. Currently, I think it's maize, and sometimes we say, I think, maybe 3 months of consumption is what we actually need, and therefore we budget for that and make the money available. Suffice to say that sometimes a food reserve has got resources or carryover resources from the previous year's commodities which they've sold. So sometimes we do net off and give them the difference in the budget. So, okay, the value of what you had is so much, and what you want to procure is so much. So if you sell this, given these resources, we'll do that. So, yes, to answer the question, and I believe these are laws that are put in place which compel government to make sure that there's sufficient reserve. Therefore, we must make adequate budgetary provisions from the executive side, which are approved by yourselves as legislators. The issue of safeguards to compensate, this is, I think, when we're exporting, and are there any safeguards? I think in an ideal way, Honorable Chair, government will still continue doing a food balance sheet, and the food balance sheet will tell us whether we have adequate stocks for our own consumption in terms of human consumption, animal consumption, industrial consumption, as well as a food store with food reserve itself. Anything that stands as excess is available for exports. I think we'll still continue to use that mechanism to inform us of how much needs to be exported to make sure that food security is achieved within the country. The issue of the minimum fee, what I think should be the minimum fee, it's very difficult, Honorable Chair. Perhaps when we put in all the institutional makeup that is there, it would be very good to know that some fees should be friendly for the farmers, and I'm sure there will be a way of consulting and arriving at the appropriate figure. Perhaps I'll just defer to my colleagues to say one or two things on this.
Thank you, PS. With regard to the fees that the small-scale farmers might be able to pay, the current practice with the warehouse receipts under ZAMAS is that ZAMAS has a schedule of fees which includes the storage costs as well as fumigation costs. So given the amount the farmers are putting in, usually it's a very small proportion of the total value of the commodities, and they try to make it as affordable as possible to the small-scale farmers, and will vary according to the quantity each small-scale farmer would put in. Probably for purposes of this bill, what the PS has said, I think as the institutional framework comes together and looking at the historical trends, maybe that's when some guidelines around the fees associated might be finalized. I submit.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member? Is Honorable Mtachara an honorable member? Yes.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Thank you, PS, for your submissions. I think I will take you to the agricultural marketing bill. I think that is only part 4. A person shall not engage in agricultural marketing or act as a market player unless that person is registered in accordance with this Act. It further says that a person who contravenes the same subsection is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 200,000 penalty units or a term of imprisonment not exceeding the period of 2 years or both. So I wanted to find out whether, according to the ministry, whether this is not very punitive. Would it not discourage private sector participation in the agriculture marketing system? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mtachara. Honorable Member?
Thank you very much, Chair, and PS, thank you very much for this elaborate submission. I want to find out from you 2 questions. How can subsidized market initiatives be designed to mitigate market vulnerability for the private sector while ensuring fair prices for farmers and promote competitiveness in the maize market, taking in mind the role of the FRA, considering that in the FRA pricing parameters there is huge government interference and subsidized pricing? And the other one is, Chair, what are the potential risks and challenges associated with subsidized inputs and marketing in the Zambian maize sector, and how can these be mitigated to ensure that the benefits meets the desired results? Thank you.
Thank you. PS, you can take those 3.
Okay, thank you very much for those questions. Very pertinent indeed. So I think the first question is the issue of registration of persons engaged in agriculture marketing. And I think the question is, won't this discourage private sector participation? I think, Chair, it's very important to register people. Every person who drives a car by law should have a license. It doesn't mean that for you to get a license, everyone will be discouraged from driving. It's the issue of the law. So everyone who participates on food, in the food value chain, at least in marketing the food that people consume, must be registered. At least we should be able to, I think the idea is to be able to track and trace within the value chain what role has been played. And I think part of these acts is to make sure that there's traceability. So it's very important that we know and register those that are in the value chain with rules and compel them to give certain information. I think the idea now is that from the farm to the fork, we should be able to trace where things are coming from. So I think for us, this is a very important thing. It's not to discourage private sector participation, but it's to ask private sector participation so that as government or as society, we should be able to know who has participated, what their role is, and that they are registered and conform to certain rules and regulations. Now, the idea is not to register everyone, that a marketeer at Mutendere Market who's saying tomato and vegetables should be registered. I think the clause 10 says it's not everyone. There will be some exemptions that will be there, but I'd like to believe grain traders, all these big companies who pick and take into supermarkets and so on and so forth have got to be registered. Perhaps exporters of food also have got to be registered, because if there is a problem with a product, we must be able to trace that, okay, we took this product into Botswana, this batch has a problem, and we should be able to trace it back. Who took this to Botswana? Where did you buy it? Which farm did it come from? Which field did it come from? What were the chemicals used, or whatever problem there is? I think that is the whole point of registration. The second question, I think, was on subsidies, subsidy initiatives.
Yes.
I can't quite remember. Maybe just answer it, then I'll come to it, I think, on the subsidy.
Thank you very much. I think the context of the question, if I got it correctly, was how the subsidized prices in the market by the government would interfere with private sector participation. I think that was the gist of the question. Now, if you look at the three bills, I think the idea is that for the three bills, they work like a tripod. So if you look at the food reserve bill in clause 16.3, the agency shall specify the size of the national strategic food reserves as determined by the Cultural Marketing Council. So the Cultural Marketing Council is envisioned to be a body that will be a custodian of agricultural information, prices, quantities, and all associated information. Now, for the food reserve to come up with a price, they will not do it the way it has been done arbitrarily. We would have this council to advise on the prices based on the information that they have. That way we'll play two roles. We ensure that the farmers have a fair price, and also that the private sector has a way of determining that the price that is given is also fair. I think that's the gist of the three pieces of legislation. That's why they've been cross-referenced. I think there's a concept in agricultural marketing we call market discovery. How would you know the price in Kalabo today? So this Agricultural Marketing Council, if it's a custodian of information, it should have prices across the nation, and this will be a basis for everyone in the market, including the FRA, to be able to set prices for their commodities. The other question, okay, probably I will defer to the PS. Yeah, it was on the risks associated with subsidized inputs in the market. Basically, if you look at the bills, we are mostly looking at the output side of the market. Now, if you compare the productivity of the larger scale farmers compared to the small scale farmers are not as competitive. So the subsidizing side of the small scale farmers is to help them increase their competitiveness with reference to the prices that may prevail in the market. So we are trying to balance out the two issues. Chair, I submit.
Thank you very much. Any additional PS? It's clear?
No,
Okay. Yes, madam.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I just wanted to add maybe just one more point to PS's submission.
Yes.
When he was talking about the issue of traceability. So apart from what he submitted, I also see this as an opportunity for growth, especially when you look at the SMEs. Once these are registered and we're able to trace them to see where they're operating from, we can easily identify the kind of challenges that they face when it comes to meeting market needs, and those can easily be addressed. And then there's also potential for effective linking some of the output that is coming from these small scale players to companies. Basically, I'm talking about like industrial linkages. If you look at some of the farmers, some of the things that they are involved in are of industrial importance. So if we're able to trace them, we can easily improve the raw resource materials that they produce that feed into our industries. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much. PS, expanding designated commodities and increasing FRA responsibilities, you will agree with me that this will raise government expenditure on procurement, storage, and market stabilization. You also further agree with me, PS, that this could burden the national budget and undermine sustainability, especially during the years of poor harvests or high commodity prices. What would be your reaction on that? And then I read in your presentation, I observe the weak support mechanism for smallholder farmers. It doesn't provide mechanisms to improve smallholder access to timely payment, market information, or training and quality standards. I need your reaction also on that one. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, the expansion of agricultural commodities and whether it will increase costs. I think the issue is not about costs. The issue is about the nation being food secure. I think the cost of hunger is much higher. It might lead to death. It's a responsibility of government to make sure that food is there. Now, the idea of expanding the commodities is that, yes, today maybe the consumption pattern is such that we consume maize and its products, and maybe that's the designated commodity. Tomorrow, there could be a change in consumption patterns. It could be wheat, or its wheat products. It could be soybeans. It could be anything. So I think the idea of this is to leave it open to consumption patterns of Zambians. And I think that consumption pattern is what determines what government should store in its food reserve to ensure that there is food security. So yes, it could undermine the budget in times of high prices. It's inevitable. I mean, last year we had a severe drought. We had to go and buy relatively expensive maize, which we imported as a country. But we had to do it to make sure that no one starves to death. I think the cost of hunger is much higher on the economy, its productivity, and so on. So I think the idea is to make sure that we do have enough stocks for people to consume. I think the issue of timely payments for smallholder farmers, I think there are certain things you can legislate. I think there are certain things that are administrative. We would like to believe the issues of payments and timely payments for farmers, those are administrative issues. And indeed, from the administrative side, we need to endeavor that farmers are actually paid on time for their commodities, which they actually avail, especially to the Food Reserve Agency. But the only good thing is that it's coming together with the warehouse receipts, and which gives some commodity in a warehouse which is able to draw value out of it. And I think this will be very helpful. And even this year, FRA has bought perhaps far much more maize. Although the ministry has availed all the resources to them, we've had to help them use the stocks to borrow some money from the banks to pay farmers. But I think if the warehouse receipt system works very well, payments will not be a big problem, and farmers can always get an advance even while waiting for a payment from a body like the Food Reserve. Again, I'll ask my colleagues if there's any comments.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to expand on what the PS has said on the designation of agricultural commodities. If you look at our bill in clause 18, it specifically says these agricultural commodities are designated for essential for food security. So as a country, based on our consumption patterns, we will choose the commodities we shall designate as agricultural commodities. As a rider to that, if you look at the 2020 Food Reserve Act, currently it has got a similar provision where the minister by such instruments designates agricultural commodities, and if I remember correctly, if you look at the statutory instrument, it has got more than 10 designated agricultural commodities. But depending on the market dynamics, the food reserve does not go and buy all the designated agricultural commodities in that statutory instrument. So this is, I think we are being futuristic and see what would happen if consumption patterns changed. Would we need to add or change the commodities? I would also like to just add on to the issue of the standards. I think earlier on we discussed the issue of traceability. And part of the issue of traceability is also ensuring that we conform to some level of standards. So we are hoping that with the coming in of the Agricultural Marketing Council, ensuring traceability, we will have a system of capacity building where the sector ministries, that is agriculture, trade, commerce, trade and industry, and livestock, would be able to come in and provide some form of training to ensure that standards are met. Chair, I submit.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, any concern? Honorable Mtacha, then Honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. PS, I think just a follow-up question to the question I asked you on the issue of imprisonment on the fine. Some stakeholders who have appeared before this committee have suggested that maybe we replace the imprisonment for non-registration with the administrative penalties. I wanted to get your comments. And then the other thing, PS, is that these three bills, are they really addressing the interests of smallholder farmer? Because most of the time, I think maybe we have concentrated very much, especially I think in the past, to those elite who have taken advantage of our farmers to reap where they did not sow, where they buy agricultural products cheaply and then they sell at super profits. So my worry is that more than 80% of our farmers are still smallholder farmers 60 years after independence. The percentage in terms of emergency farmers is below 15% and the commercial farmers below 5%. So really my concern is the huge number of small-scale holder farmers who are constituted more than 80%, who still remain poor, use outdated methods of farming. Yes, I know that we are trying to promote the private sector-driven agriculture system. Was it not going to be ideal if at all the FRA, Food Reserve Agents, apart from just focusing on the national strategic reserves, was it not going to be a good platform for them, of course, to be used also as a vehicle that apart from just buying maize for strategic reserves, they can be used also as a way to help small-scale farmers access lucrative market, especially export markets, because especially those in cooperative. Don't you think it was going to help very much as compared to the ZAMI system? I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chair. Witness, I want to find out from you, if a farmer deposits the produce in a warehouse and he or she wants to access money through a bank by either the way of a loan or advance, will there be an interest? Yes. Don't you think that farmers might find it very difficult to looking at how expensive loans are currently in the country? I ask this question, Chair, because I realize to say that in as much as you deposit at warehouse, you look at the period of producing this same commodity, maybe it takes about 6 months. And again, then you have somebody who stores and goes to borrow on an interest. Don't you think that the profitability of the said commodity will be reduced? Thank you.
Thank you, PS. Yes, you may handle those two concerns.
Thank you very much. I think the first question, basically to sum it up, is there are provisions to use FRA as a vehicle to help small-scale farmers access maybe export market and so on. So I think in the bill, if you go to clause 19, 4, it says, and I'll read, the agency shall, in purchasing a designated agricultural commodity from the domestic market, identify and enter and operate markets in rural areas. I think this was deliberate to use the word rural areas so that they focus on buying where find it very difficult. I think that is why this clause was put like this, and it's also a way to help small-scale farmers, especially who are in far-flung areas, hard-to-reach areas, by government to actually go and buy those commodities when private sector fails. I think that is one way of helping farmers. But as the Honorable has said, the majority of the farmers are really small-scale. And I think, as we have said, these bills are interrelated. I think to enhance the warehouse receipt system is also help to the small-scale farmers. I mean, right now, I think in maize, if you check the statistics, at times over 90% of the products is produced by actually small-scale farmers. So it is this same grain that will go into these warehouses, and it is this same grain where they'll be able to obtain some value. And it's depending on the pricing. I think we've talked about regional, domestic, regional and international pricing. They will stand to benefit from export market, because what goes in a warehouse, with a warehouse, the good thing is that even a foreigner can come in and bid to buy maize directly in a warehouse. So those prices will accrue direct to the same farmers who are small-scale farmers in this case, who produce more than 90% of the grain. So we believe that the way the Act is crafted really helps small-scale farmers. The second part of the question was if you have to get an advance or a loan, will there be interest attached? Unfortunately, money has a cost. And if you are getting the money from a bank, the bank only earns through that. But the cost of money, or the interest which they charged, interest also represents a risk. Now, if I go without any collateral, the risk is much higher. So the interest will be much lower if I have some collateral. So it's beneficial actually that the loans will become even much more affordable, because the bank has a commodity which it is holding on to in the case of a default. But if you didn't have that, the risks will possibly be much higher. So I think we believe that this is an important aspect. Unfortunately, that is how the banking system works, and that is how money works. Money has a time value. If I get 100 kwacha today and I return it to you 1 year from now, its purchasing power might be different. Now, to compensate for that buying power, there's interest that is factored into, which looks at inflation as well as the risk of default. But the risk of default, at least in this case, is kind of catered for by the fact that this is a commodity-backed lending or an advance from someone. Yes.
Thank you. You need to add? Yes, madam.
Yes,
You can go ahead.
thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, PS. Just wanted to add one point to your submission.
Yes, indeed.
I think the issue of interest rates, just like what PS explained, is a real challenge, but I see an opportunity that is coming with this warehousing receipting system. In the case where a small-scale farmer stores their commodity in a warehouse, they don't have to sell it all at once. So they have an opportunity to wait and sell when the price is right. I'm sure you've observed when it's marketing season, everyone wants to sell their maize, and usually they don't get a good price. But with this warehousing system, it actually allows the farmer to store maize and sell at the right price. When the price is good, they are able to sell and get money. But in the meantime, it also gives them an opportunity to get small monies against the stored commodity. Of course, at a small interest, but at least they'll have access to some sort of financing while they wait for the price to be right. it's like the way futures markets work. When you look at, like you want to sell your copper, the future contracts. So we are trying to bring that opportunity to farmers so that they are not in a hurry to lose value to what we usually call the briefcase buyers. So it gives them that opportunity to hold on to the maize or whatever commodity it is that they have stored, so that they only sell at the right price. I submit, Chair.
Thank you
So
so much.
exploitation is reduced of farmers. with
Yes.
this,
So, Honorable Member, you need an addition.
Chair, I'm very happy the way the Minister of Finance is coming out, in a sense that the warehousing system works more better when a farmer has produced more, in that it gives them the latitude of trying to use a little bit that they have, then the surplus is the one that they can be able to
Yes.
store. Now, in as much as you store, and then you are stuck somehow, you need a resource, you have to go to the bank, meaning that the profit side of what you are storing goes to an aspect of paying for the loan.
Yes.
Now, this is where we really need, as a ministry, trying to educate our farmers to ensure that when they do what they want to do, they do it based on an informed mind, to ensure that they don't start complaining in the process of waiting.
Yes.
I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll get to Honorable Banda.
Thank you, witness. I think I just want to find out if these three bills are enacted, especially the Food Reserve Bill number 33 of 2025. Do you foresee all the challenges, the operation challenges, being addressed by, especially for the food reserve agencies?
Thank you so much, PS. Let me make the last additional contribution. There's, you'll agree with me that there's a high cost of maintaining the national reserves, and there's too much pressure that is exerted on your treasury, and then there's the issue of delay in releasing funds. You know, these exercises are timely, or whether periodical, but they're supposed to be done and actualized at that material time. And then on your side, there's lamentation of delays in releasing funding. What is your reaction?
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Banda's question is, if enacted, do we foresee all operational challenges being addressed? I think the word all is too encompassing. We cannot foresee everything, but I think the major challenges that we see in the current system, we see them being addressed, especially with the way we've tried to separate and bringing in the Agriculture Marketing Council, so that what is for marketing is marketing, and what is for the reserve is for the reserve. So I think I must say with the confidence that I think a good number of the challenges that currently exist will be addressed with this bill, especially the FRA being enacted. The high cost of National Food Reserve, and I think that's an observation. It's not for me to comment, but it's to say, as a treasury, we need to ensure that resources are released on time. If we get a product from a farmer, that farmer requires their money and it needs to be paid. So I can just totally agree with you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I think there was a comment from Honorable Member. I think
Yes.
the issue to educate farmers is
Yes.
agreed. Yes, thank you.
Any other concerns, honorable members? PS, yes, Honorable Mtacha.
I think my question was not addressed. I was saying that some stakeholders have suggested that instead of
Administrative penalties.
yeah,
Yes.
Musa, can you go?
Thank you very much. I think with regard to replacement of imprisonment with administrative penalties, we would defer to the sector ministry in consultation with justice and see if that they can do that. I submit.
Thank you very much. PS, your concluding remarks?
I think it's been an honor for us to appear before your committee. I think your questions are very pertinent. They also give us homework. I think even as these are enacted, when we're implementing, there are a lot of things for us to think through, which we have to take. But we'll continue monitoring your work as a committee and also to see as Ministry of Finance where we need to intervene. Otherwise, for me and from my team, thank you very much for this interaction.
Yes, thank you so much, PS, for your in-depth presentation and your elaborate responses to our concerns. I had conferred you with Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, which had granted you immunity. Allow me, PS, to withdraw the immunity so that you remain as Ministry of Finance and National Planning. Thank you and have a blessed day.